So I'm going to tell a story. It starts with my buddy Mark. He's a guy, I don't remember meeting Mark, I just always knew him. He was just one of my best friends, always, all through childhood. I spent a large portion of my life over at Mark's house, and so his family was sort of like a surrogate family for me. They were like a second family. And his dad was like, he was so different from my own dad that I connected with him in ways that I never did with my own father. And I loved him very, very dearly. He was really, really like a second dad to me. He was a brilliant man. He beat to his own drum, or whatever that phrase is. Went to the beat of his own, you know what I mean. Unique guy. He did things his own way. And he was just really great. And our family just always had this real deep connection with him. And I loved him very, very much. And then one time I was out in Utah at school, and I was grocery shopping, and I get a call from my mom unexpectedly that Mark's dad had died the night before. He had had pneumonia, but I didn't really know about that. And just because he was his own guy, he just didn't go to the doctor, and he just figured he'd fight through it. And he didn't. He died in his sleep. And that was very, very difficult. That was the hardest death that I've ever had to face still, including family deaths. If I hadn't been in public at the time when I received that phone call, I just definitely would have completely broken down. I was in Utah and he was here, and so I couldn't come back for the funeral. I was stuck in the middle of the semester, I had no money, and I feel really, really bad that I wasn't able to be there for that funeral. But I knew, I learned, I guess I realized, I knew it, but I realized after his death from all the people who were, all the diverse people mourning him in such different ways, I realized how much he meant to so many different people. He meant so many different things to so many different people. And he really was just this fantastic guy. And I'm left with this one thought of him. He loved burnt cookies. He always loved the burnt cookies. Whenever Kathy was making a batch of cookies, Kathy was the mom, whenever she's making a batch of cookies, she'd always make like an extra tray to cook them a little bit longer, so they'd get a little bit crisper, be a little bit blacker. Because that's the way that Mark Sr. liked his cookies. And I'm left with this thought that he was the type of man who, if I think that if early in their marriage, Kathy just accidentally burned a batch of cookies, Mark would have just said, "Oh, that's fine, I like them better burnt," and went the rest of his life burnt cookies. I don't know. That's a mystery to me. Maybe he really does like burnt cookies. He is that kind of guy. But maybe it's just the type of guy who cares so much about everyone else and cared so much about his wife that he was just willing to go always soldiering through burnt cookies. Even if that wasn't. He's a beautiful man. He meant a lot to a lot of people. I wasn't sure which story I was going to tell. I had two ideas, and I asked permission from my friend Mark and this morning as to whether or not I could talk about my experience with when his father passed. And his response was just so beautiful that I felt like I had to. He understands how much his father meant to so many people, and that family is just so important. And so I guess maybe we'll never know. And I like having that little bit of mystery as to whether or not he does just prefer burnt cookies.